Welcome to Knit 2 Cultivate 2. This is primarily a fiber arts podcast, but I get up to all kinds of shenanigans while homeschooling my kids. My name's Emily and I live in Midland, Michigan with my husband and 2 kids. Welcome. If this is your first time, I hope you find something that you like. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I'm really glad to be here. Okay, I have just a few things to announce. I am going to start recording weekly. So I am gonna try to record weekly. I get a lot of knitting done during the school year. So part of this is just due to I have a lot to talk about and it's only been a week. But another part of it is the routine of it, right? Every other week just seems a little disjointed. And I'm very long-winded, so it'll help keep the episodes short too. So for all of those reasons, I'm gonna move to a weekly recording schedule. All right, the next thing I wanna mention is to keep a watch out for a knit along coming. I don't have more information this time. I know I said I might, but I also didn't know I was gonna start recording weekly, so I'm kind of winging it here, but keep an eye out, it's still coming. Another thing is I'm pausing the Patreon payment for the month of October. I think I'm gonna move towards a Ko-Fi account for a few reasons. One, it really was supposed to just be a way for people who want to support the podcast to support the podcast. I also just can't keep up with additional content. Over the summer, might be different, but during the school year, there's just so much going on. Which, you know, even this year compared to last year, things are just so much busier. So I wanted another way that you can support the podcast, but more like, I would buy you a $3 cup of coffee instead of I'm paying you every month. So that's for now. Okay, let's move on to some knitting. I don't have any finished objects this week, so we're gonna jump right into whips or works in progress. The first I have is the French Market bag by Alexandra Tavel, which is $4.50 US. I left off on the mesh and I'm still on the mesh section. I'm gonna put a stitch marker in it now because I said last time I'd do that to show how much I've done and I didn't. So now I can track. But again, it's really slow going and I don't pull it out that often. So I've really been into my other works in progress, had no interest in this whatsoever. But I'm using Oh Baby, I think it's a Lion brand yarn. I got it at Michael's. So I just had 3 or 4 skeins of it. So I decided to do a smaller version of the bag I made probably a month ago now. Okay. Let's see what's next. All right, the next thing I'm talking about is the apple wreath. And I told you guys I was using 2 different patterns. I'll put both pictures up here. 2 different patterns that I'm using as inspiration. I'll show you. So I've got all the red apple done. I'm really excited about this. And I had the chalkboard done last time, I think. So the chalkboard will go on front. Oh my gosh, I can't handle this. I've not held this stuff up yet. This is my real reaction and I'm gonna freak out. Okay, and then this is the stem and I'll show you how it goes. So it's like a button and the stem. I purchased both of the patterns that I'm using as an inspiration because I wanted the little leaves for the apple, and then I wanted the ruffle pattern because what happened, the turkey pattern when I did it was free on the website, and I think she since took that down and only has a for sale pattern. So I didn't want to buy the turkey pattern because I've already made it. So I bought the 4th of July one because it has these same ruffles by the same designer. So this is that. I want to do the 2 little leaves. So I'll have the chalkboard and then I want to do a ruler and a tiny piece of chalk and write something on the chalkboard. none of those things will take me long. Yeah, that's coming along. It will get like 2 weeks of use because I keep knitting on something else, but that's okay. All right, I finished a pair of Rose City rollers. So I finished the pair of Hot Shot Felici. These are Rose City rollers by Mara Catherine Briner. It's a free pattern. It just has this little jelly roll cuff. This is a pair. This is the small size and it fits my daughter. I knit them on a US size 1 and I cast on another pair. I think this was called Psychedelic Rainbow, but I will check. Psychedelic Rainbow. It's a rainbow with pink in place of red and purple. These are also for my daughter. Because I do it by stripe and don't count my rows though, I didn't realize this was like a little taller of a cuff. The blue stripe is a double stripe and I didn't realize that. So she gets a little extra cuff on hers, which I don't know. I think this colorway is so, like, I would have worn these socks as a kid. They are very 90s. But yeah, I've got a heel flap done. I'm working on the shaping and then I'll pick up stitches for the gusset. So those are going well, no complaints, chugging along. The next pattern I'm gonna talk about is the project I have mostly been knitting on for a few reasons. One, it's a vanilla cardigan, so I can do it while I'm teaching. I can do it throughout the school day without thinking. So it's been getting a lot of knitting time during our school day, but also just because this yarn is fabulous and I am obsessed with working on this right now. So this is the Millie for Men. I did not write the designer down, so I'll put it up and I will also put the price up because I didn't do that. I left off and was 5 inches past the arm separation. It's a top-down cardigan with a shawl collar. I'll put a picture up. And I had just gotten like 5 inches down and I have now bound off on the body and picked up stitches for the button band and shawl collar. So let's see if I can hold this up. Oh, it's so big. I want to show you a few details on it. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but this is the pocket. It has a garter pocket. I'm going to stick my finger up because it's not seamed yet, but you can see the pocket and it has a, reverse stockinette panel. And man, it is sharp. The line is very sharp. I really like how the pockets turned out. Right now, it doesn't look like much, but I've got buttonholes and I'm gonna start the short row shaping for the shawl collar part. And then I need to pick up still and do the sleeves and then it will be done along with some finishing. I just have to tack. The pocket was continuously worked. You put stitches on hold and cast on the same amount of stitches and then keep working. And so I've got it tacked down at the bottom, but the sides need to be seamed still. But it was a really easy process. I might pick up and add a little, I didn't realize you couldn't see what I was doing, ribbing up here to keep it from rolling. But because it's not stockinette, it was reverse stockinette, the rolling goes on the inside of the pocket. So it really isn't that, it looks a lot neater than if I had done stockinette on the front and the rolling would have gone outward. So yeah, I don't think I said what yarn I'm using. So it's Knit Picks Felici worsted. I bought it bare and I think I used Nebula Navy to dye it. And I didn't like this. This is the second dye project that I've talked about that I did not like the yarn at all, but the project came out perfect. I loved how it knit up. So if you're out there as an aspiring yarn dyer, be encouraged because the last 2 dye flops that I had, I love the finished knitted item. So, but like if you look at it, it's pretty patchy. I am totally unimpressed with this. Very patchy, but with alternating skeins, it hasn't been too bad. Also, my husband will not care. He is not going to care if the yarn is a little patchy. Like, he is going to love this. I will say, I am really excited. I think he's gonna like this a lot. He has a shawl collar sweater cardigan just like this, and that's his favorite sweater. So I do think he's gonna like it. It should fit him. It fit me, so it should fit him. I wonder if it'll be good. He is, what, 2 inches taller than me, so I can actually sneak things and see, does it generally fit over my broad shoulders? It'll probably fit over his. So yeah, anyway, I really, really love it. I'm really, really jealous of this yarn though. I have never used felici worsted. I heavily use felici fingering. It's my favorite sock yarn. I don't know if I'd say favorite, but it's my favorite go-to sock yarn that's really, really affordable and is consistently wears well and is super soft. And so I bought a bunch of this in bulk, but now I'm out. So I was knitting along on this and really jealous and wanting more. And I was like, I've got to knit myself a sweater out of this. And one part of my brain said, Emily, just wait, let's see how it wears. The other part of my brain was saying, it has 25% nylon. It's going to be just fine. So I went to Knit Picks website, just to see, because now you can buy bare yarn with discount if you only buy 10 skeins. You used to have to buy 20 packs to get the 20% discount or whatever it was. Now you have to buy per skein, but if you get 10 or more, the discount is applied. So you can buy half the amount of yarn and still get bulk discount now, which I love. So I could buy 10 instead of 20, but thankfully Knit Picks made that choice for me and it's not available right now. So my impulse shopping was blocked, which was good because I am trying to use from stash, and just because I'm upset that my husband gets a cushy sweater, I don't need to buy more just because of that. Yeah, I think that's all I've got for works in progress. Plotting and purchases, I really don't have much. I've done a lot of planning and purchasing lately. So, but the one thing I wanted to talk about was the Zosia wrap cardigan by Verton Rose. I have been seeing this everywhere and I am obsessed with it. I have to knit this eventually. I don't know if I'll use the yarn it calls for or just hold two strands of mohair together, but either way, I love the look of it. I should put a picture up. And I definitely want to I've already put it in my queue, but I don't have yarn for it yet. I think I know what I'm going to get for it, but again, I'm trying to use stash, so that might go further down on my list. The last thing is the piano cardigan. I wanted to talk about scarf that I showed last time. It's up here. It's a colorwork scarf. I'm making this for my son's old piano teacher in Columbus, Ohio. He took from him for a really long, 6 years, I think maybe he was with him for 5 years. But they had been together for a really long time, and it was really hard to leave him when we moved here to Michigan. So I'm knitting this for him, and I got a provisional chain made and realized that I needed new needle tips. So I ordered new needle tips. They came in, and I realized I needed another set of needle tips to do the pockets on this cardigan. So I bought the needle tips so that I would have extras to cast that on, and ended up needing to hijack them for this project again. So that was frustrating. So I have the chain done. I'll pick up stitches. Now, though, I'm done with the pocket. So at no point, I'll be on one set of needles for the rest of the cardigan. So I can go ahead and cast that on. I'll probably get that done this week, but I want to finish the wreath first. So, and I'm still wanting to only work if it weren't for wanting to get the wreath up before I put my Halloween one up, then I would obsessively be knitting on this cardigan because it's so, so, so enjoyable. And I really should be savoring it. I really should be slowing down and enjoying it. But I have ADHD and I have no concept of how to do that at all. Slow down and enjoy things like that. I'm kidding. I'm being snarky. But that is an unnatural thing for me to do. It is much more natural for my brain to obsessively work on something. That's literally how it's wired. So that's what my brain wants to naturally do. Anyway, off topic. But that's all I got for plotting and purchases. I'll probably have that scarf cast on by the next time I see you though. So we'll see. Weekly? I don't know. We'll see if I'm ambitious. Okay, so for homeschool and life, there's really not much I want to talk about. Week 2 for us was last week, and we took the first 2 days off because my husband had the days off, and he doesn't get another break until Thanksgiving. And of course, we'll take one before then. And by break, we usually take like a day or two of a week off. It's not usually a full week. I don't know. It really is just when we need a break, whenever we need a brain break. But week 3 is coming up. We have fun labs this week. Actually, I'm not really sure. I didn't look at the labs yet. I just bought the things I put on the supply list for this week. So something involves plaster of Paris. I don't know what, but we'll find out this week. But really the only thing I wanted to talk about was the co-op that I started. It's not a full co-op. It really is just a social group at this point, but we're trickling in activities. But we had our first meetup. This was, and I should say it's an inclusive co-op, which is heavily missing from the homeschool community in this Tri-Cities, Tri-County area. So much so that the stories I heard that convinced me to start something were horrific. I could not believe how uninclusive the alternatives are here. However, we started a group ourselves, and our first meetup, we're having weekly meetups Friday 2 to 4. And that's just to start with. Who knows what'll happen, but that started this week. 9 families were there, and 4 or 5 other people had said they were going to come but couldn't make it this time. It was amazing. It was a group. I mean, everybody really interacted well. It seemed, even parent wise, that everybody got along well. I am not kidding when I say that there were not arguments at all between children. It was 2 hours of kids wandering from group to group, playing board games. And my daughter is shy. We don't use that word, although I did once before realizing when you have a shy child, you're not supposed to use that word because it's a trait. So then they think they can't change it, but you should use the word nervous instead. Of course, I read that after I already talked about it. Anyway, and she was interacting so well. I mean, just bouncing from group to group. So it was fabulous. I'm really excited about it. We're hopefully going to have activities and things for them to do. Although if there's a week that somebody doesn't volunteer, then it can just be social day or fun day. We had, so we rent a room at the library, and it's a good sized room. And so we brought board games. My daughter brought a bunch of dolls. We got library books out. My son and another little boy literally sat reading books, like Lego building books and World Guinness Records books and like whatever books, and just talking about what they were reading the whole time. Again, that hyper focus is strong in our neurodivergent family. But a friend of mine's daughter brought a bracelet making kit, which was a huge hit. So I have a few other crafty things that I didn't even think to bring, but my kids aren't into it, so we'll totally do it there. But all in all, it was fabulous. And it's a really good example of some of the stuff I want to talk about in the books. So I'm going to save that stuff, but I'm really encouraged. I'm really excited. 9 families might not seem like a lot, but homeschool families have multiple kids. There were babies there. There were toddlers there. There were a few teenagers. It was a great age range, and you know, each family has multiple kids. So it was a busy room. And honestly, even if the group ends up being this, social, whatever, it was fabulous. The kids all had a blast, and we're excited to come back. And I was excited that we decided to do this at a library because it didn't cost anything to rent a room if you have a library card. So I purchased a library card out of county for this reason. But since we were there, we got books and did our library trip there. And I was like, wow, this was not an extra trip now that I have to fit in my schedule. So it kind of 2 birds with 1 stone, right? It was fabulous. Anyway, I'm talking way too much about this, but it's good, going well. I'm really excited to see a much more inclusive homeschool community grow. And obviously the need was there. That's all I've got. It's been school packed and soccer packed. 3 nights a week and Saturdays. Games start next week. Oh, this does lead me into a conversation I don't want to have. I am so bummed because I really, really, really wanted to go to Yellow Springs and do a wool gathering. It's my favorite yarn festival, probably because I haven't been to Rhinebeck. Next year I'm going. And I wanted to go to a wool gathering, and I totally butchered this. I thought that it was the weekend after, and I didn't put it in the calendar. So my husband scheduled some gigs, which there was nothing in the calendar. That's on me. Honestly, though, if he would have asked me, I would have been wrong about the dates anyway. I really thought it was the weekend after. In my head, anyway. I talked about this last week or the week before sometime, and I think I had the dates correct. It's just now, in my head, I have them incorrect. So, yeah. Anyway, he has a few gigs, so that kind of makes it a little trickier because I would have kids with me. But I also can't have kids with me because they have soccer games. In addition to this, my husband asked me if I wanted to go see a female mariachi band that's coming that weekend. And I was like, yes, absolutely. That sounds amazing. Go get the tickets. So I definitely butchered all of this. Next year, what I'm gonna do is actually put it in the calendar. I had like a spreadsheet of the festivals, but I didn't put any of them in the calendar. Who knows? So anyway, I don't think I'm gonna make it to Yellow Springs. It would be possible. It would be really hard, and it would be, I don't want to say it's unfair on my husband, because he would do it gladly, but also at the same time, it makes it a lot harder for him, and I don't have yarn purchases that I need. Like I am trying to knit from stash right now, and I really don't need things right now. I purposefully planned so that I wouldn't be tempted to buy, and it's working. I don't have anything I need to buy right now, except that Zosia wrap cardigan yarn. I have a birthday coming up. I can do it for that, right? Actually, there is some mint that's been at my yarn shop for a while, and it's only $10 for 50 grams. I need to like go snag that one. So I might go snag it before it's been there for a while, so I think it'll be fine, but I might go snag it. Anyway, so I don't think I'll be, long-winded way to say, I don't think I'll be at Yellow Springs. if for some reason that changes, I'll like blast it on social media, but I really, really don't think I'm going. I'm bummed, but it's also my kid's first soccer game of the season. And my daughter, like I said, is very shy and nervous, and I really want to be there. So there is the sad, but there's also a very large part of me that wants to be home. And I'm not kidding. That female mariachi band, I am so excited about. Let me see if I can find the name. I'll put it up. I don't have the info on this. My husband is the one that found this event. And he showed me a video of them. And I am so here for it. And Eli's taking Spanish this year. So he will enjoy it too. So I'm excited about that. But I am really bummed that I botched what weekend it is. And see, this is one of those things with ADHD that I have to try not to be hard on myself for. I messed up the dates. It was an easy thing to do, but it is more likely that I will make those kinds of mistakes, absent-minded mistakes. And that is hard, especially as someone who was undiagnosed for so long and had to go through that process as an adult, which I'm not going to get into right now. But if you have questions about that go for it. I'd love to answer them. But especially because of that, the shame that's built into a lot of the reactions that I have to neurodivergent traits that I have. It's deep rooted. I mean, it was the majority of my life. So I'm trying to be excited about the things we have going on, as well as not beat myself up too hard about it, because it is one of my favorite events and I do want to go. But I would be lying to say that buying things is not a huge part of the experience for me, and that would seem like a bummer as well to just not be shopping. And I am very happy with that choice, but also I'm impulsive, so I know myself. But I hope that everyone has a really good time, and I really hope I get to go next year, because man, this is the second year that I thought I was gonna go, and things came up last year too. It was just a lot of adjustment. Maybe next year I'll have this beginning of the school year thing down finally. Books. I have a few. I finally finished Half Sick of Shadows. Great book. I really, really liked it. It was really, really good. I don't think I would have called the ending while I was reading the book, but it all fit into place. I really liked it. I am glad that I finished it on time before returning it to the library. I read some more of Wild and Free. That's by Ainsley Armet. And I wanted to talk about a few things that they mentioned or that I had highlighted from this week's reading, because I loved that I literally saw this in practice this week. But one of the things is that the beauty of age intermixing. One of the things about homeschooling that a lot of people that don't have experience with homeschooling think is a negative, we view as a positive. One of those things always at the top of the list is socialization. Everybody's concerned that my kids aren't socializing because they're home all day. Well, they're not home all day, but you know what I mean, their perception of it. Whereas I see my children interacting with not just children their own age. I see my kids interacting with older kids and teenagers, and my neighbor has a 4-year-old and my son is 11 and will get down on his level and read him books or do something with him. And there is so much that our children actually gain from that. Not only are they interacting with a wide range of children, they're also interacting with adults and having meaningful conversations and relationships with adults, and have a better time let me rephrase that. They have an easier time socializing with a wider range than public school kids because they have more experience in it. or because they do it more, right? But there's also so much that they can learn from interacting with younger kids. They practice leadership skills. They are experiencing what it's like to be the oldest and responsible one in a group, which in their life and school day, that's mom. But when you're playing in a group of younger kids, you get to be the leader, you get to be the teacher or whatever. You get deeper understanding of things that you're teaching the younger children when you're older, when you reiterate those skills and are teaching them, you yourself gain a deeper understanding of them. Another really good point, and this rings true for me, is older kids are more likely to be more creative and do more creative activities than they normally would when they're with younger children. They tend to do more art, do more pretend play, and that kind of stuff that they might have grown out of, but actually enjoy, right? And the reason this rang true to me this week was exactly my experience with the co-op. I watched my friend's 10-year-old, who is super mature, interact with younger girls the whole time, helping them make bracelets and being calm with them and interacting with them and enjoying it. And I know I used to babysit all the time, and I loved that. I loved working in the nursery at church and all of that growing up. So it is something that they enjoy too and find value in. And just the belief that socialization is only happening when they're surrounded by other kids their own age. My kids socialize with children their own age all the time, but they also socialize with a wider range of kids on a regular basis. This quote wasn't really related to anything in particular, and it doesn't. I like this quote, but not necessarily in the context of homeschooling in general. But it says, our children are not personal projects to prove our competence to the outside world. They are unique individuals, beautiful souls who need our support. I love this, and it reminds me of another quote that I love that says something along the lines of, we are not in control of our child's future. We are the guardians of their childhood. We are the guardians of their choices when they cannot make them themselves. We are just placeholders. It makes me think of like if a kid became king before they were an adult, they had like a proxy, like kind of makes me think of that, right? But we are the guardians. We are not here to make choices for our children if they can make them themselves. I really love that. But again, this was using it in the sense of homeschooling, which I also don't disagree with. We as parents project so much of our disappointment in things on our children and on their behavior. But I think it's valid in other areas as well, in a broader stroke sense. Yeah. Another thing that I thought was thought-provoking that I want to keep thinking about in the back of my head is how we assess our children reveals what we value. How we assess how they're doing tells us the things we value as a person. And I don't really know what significance that holds, but it's thought-provoking and it's making me aware of something as well. The last thing I wanted to talk about from this book actually ties back into Hunt, Gather, Parent again, with the accomiendo and talking about education as a part of life. Anyway, so life is messy, chaotic, and full of disruptions, and at times our learning will be too. It's so true. There are seasons of life that are busier than others. For us, that's right now with soccer. I imagine we will be in a season of pushing things back. And we don't push a ton back. I'm talking like 1 or 2 activities a week, not full days of lessons typically. But we will be pushing activities back, and we have overflow. We have all summer to do that. The goal for us is to not be stressed. We want our lives to be as enjoyable as possible and our children to have an enjoyable childhood, to reclaim childhood. And so stressing them out with schoolwork just so that we can shove it into 36 weeks doesn't make sense. I think I've said this, but we have 36 weeks and most of our stuff is 32 weeks. So we have a lot of overflow in that 36 weeks anyway. But we also just have summer. And I am really trying to let loose a little bit because I have OCD and that very much makes me need control. It's hard for me not to get all of our lessons done in a week. I cannot handle that. And last year I really, really stressed myself out with that. And this year I'm really letting it go. We're pushing lessons back if it's not working that day. And I feel very, very good about it. Again, we are on track right now. So even with pushing stuff back, we've built that into the system. So we're on track, just with wiggle room, I think is the way I should word that. But for generations, the human race has combined life with education and play with productivity. Then lastly, work, play, and education were woven together into one beautiful tapestry, which I loved that last quote. The imagery was fabulous. But this all goes back to that idea of pulling the kids into your world. So play with productivity. My daughter helped me with dishes the other day, and she on her sink side had just a few that she was cleaning and playing with. But to her, it was play. She got play out of it. But she also was productive. Or her and my neighbor's kid got soapy water and scrubbed the car with towels the other day. Were they cleaning everything? No, but were they actually cleaning? Yes. So combining productivity and play again, and realizing how much of life can be play for kids. And then in addition to that, I agree, combining education with normal life. One of the appeals to homeschooling for me is that you fit school into your day. It's not planning your day around school. So you fit education in your daily schedule. And our days aren't always the same. We have co-op on Friday now. We have play date day, or we have a group that we go play with every week. And, those days are very different than a Monday when we're doing school all day. So, long-winded, like I said. The last book I've read is The Once and Future Witches, which I talked about starting last time. I probably was an hour in to the audiobook, and I felt like I was just missing pieces. So I went back to the beginning and re-listened to it. And I'm really, really, really glad I did. I almost didn't, but I'm really glad I did. I'm really enjoying this story. It's very good. It's very witchy. It's women's suffrage and witches, and it's so good. This was one of those, I think it was, I can't remember it now, but somebody was talking about reading this book, and a podcast was talking about it. And I always go in my books and see, did I put that on my list yet? And I had, so I was like, well, I'm just gonna check it out. So I got it, and I'm really enjoying that, but I just re-listened to it last night while I was knitting. My poor husband, I was sitting next to him on the couch. He was just doing some work, and I'm sitting there knitting with earbuds in, just listening to a book. I was very, very introvert. I was very socialized out. But anyway, all right, guys, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for joining, and like, comment, subscribe below. And thanks for coming. Have a great week.